We're in the second chapter in Pasuk 15. There's an interesting midrash here I wish to discuss. ותהי אסתר נושאת חן בעיני כל רואיה. And Esther, everyone who saw her found her favorable to them. It's an interesting pasuk. Who cares? Everybody who saw Esther liked how she looked. Now, Pshat is that she was very beautiful. Also, Pshat, what does it mean that she Nasach chen? Nasach chen means she found favor in the eyes of people. It doesn't always mean that someone is good looking. Sometimes a person can be very kind. And a personality that you like. See, there's a difference in Hebrew between yofi, beauty, and chen, which in English they translate as grace. I don't know what grace means. I don't know that words. I don't know what it means.
Don't people usually say yofi more of like when somebody did something good?
Well, right. They say yofi like good job. Also, that's right.
Yeah.
That's a Hebrew slang. Yofi. Where do you find these words? Sheker achen, vehevel yofi. Chen is a lie, and yofi is emptiness. What does it mean, yofi? I once had somebody in my parents' house. I was young. I was not married. And he was telling somebody at the table, I want you to make a shidduch for me. Find me it was supposedly a yeshiva student. Find me I want a girl who's blonde. And this week somebody, I was trying to set up a shidduch. And he said, I want to see a picture of her before I go on a date with her. So can you imagine, it's 2019, yeshiva bachor, a guy who's supposed to be sent on, is asking me, a rabbi, to send him pictures of women? Isn't that absurdity? What if I'm not attracted to her? You'll find out on the first date, then don't go on a second date. I just say you have to get pictures on your phone of a lady you're going to date her. Maybe tomorrow you might decide you're not going to date her, and then in 2 years you have a picture of somebody else's wife on your phone. It's normal? It's not normal. I know that the world thinks it's normal, but it's not normal. Yofi. This guy says he wants somebody who's blonde. You're a yeshiva student, that's what you're asking for? That's your value in life? Okay, so what's going to help is blonde. You know, people that have black hair, they dye blonde. People have blonde hair, they dye purple. But everyone does. What is the value of having blonde hair? Anyways, you're going to marry your wife, she's going to cover her hair. So what's what's so special? It means a person is only looking for a certain look. That's what he's looking for. So what happens, Chas v'Shalom, if his wife becomes sick? Or she gets in a car accident? Or she gets old like every person in the world gets old? Now he's going to stop loving her? The answer is yes, because that's all he's looking for. It's the same kind of guy 20 years down the road is going to find a secretary, he's going to find that, because that's all he's looking for. It's not a relationship he's in, it's a look that he's in a relationship with. Chen is deeper than that. Chen is, you go on a date and it's like, I don't know how attracted I am here. But then 20 minutes into the date, you're like, oh my gosh, this is the most funny person I've ever met. Half an hour later, it's the most brilliant person I've ever met. Wow, all of a sudden, also beautiful she looks. Chen is when you can appreciate somebody for more than just what's on the surface. When it says that Esther found chen, favor, in everybody's eyes, it also tells you about Esther's personality. It wasn't just that they found her beautiful, they also found her to be favorable, which is different. The Gemara in Masechet Megillah, page 13a, says, this pasuk Melamed teaches us שלכל אחד נדמת לו כאומתו. There was a miracle that happened. Everybody who looked at Esther saw her as if she was from their nation. I was once somewhere, and someone said, your wife? She's so beautiful she could be Russian. It was a woman who told me, don't worry, not a man. Why do you want to make her Russian? Well, my wife happens to be Russian. Why do we make her Russian? Because the lady was from Russia. And she thinks that all the people from Moscow are the most beautiful people in the world. And so she was trying to compliment my wife by saying, she looks like us. It's like when I was in somewhere recently and they told me, your wife, she's so Moroccan. There's nothing Moroccan about my wife. My wife is totally Berdichev. But why do you say that? You say it because clearly you are Moroccan and you like Moroccans, and so you're trying to get somebody who you like to be like you. It's a normal thing in the world that people, they like their own people. Even if it's silly, like what really doesn't make a difference, but it's a natural disposition to certain people. So if somebody was Russian and would see Esther, they would think that she was Russian. And somebody was Polish and they saw Esther, they would be Polish. Somebody was Canadian and they saw Esther, then she's Canadian. Somebody who's you give me so on and so. Somebody who was an African American, oh, it looks like me. Somebody who's an Arab, oh, it looks like me. Everybody saw Esther as if versa. Says the Ben Ish Chai, what's the point of this miracle? Who cares? Who needs such a miracle? There's two reasons. The first reason is given by a Chacham, his name is Binyan Ariel. If you remember, by the Seudah of Vashti, when Vashti was the queen, everybody, wow, look at her. She looks like she's from Palas. Look at her. She looks from Mandai. Every nation thought Vashti was attractive because they thought she was one of them. And so HaKadosh Baruch Hu knew that by the second feast that Achashverosh makes for Esther, these same idiots are going to talk about women again. They're going to talk about how they look again. So now they're going to think Esther is less attractive than Vashti. So Hashem made a miracle that everybody who saw her perceived her to be like them. That way, at least she had one up over Vashti. She was at least the same as Vashti. But it serves another purpose. Khatam Sofer says, Haman looks at her, and what does he see? Which nation is Haman from? Amalek. He sees Esther. Wow, she's also from Amalek. Because of that, he doesn't know how to defend himself from her. You look in the whole Megillah, Haman is not afraid of Esther. He doesn't stay away from Esther because he thinks she's one of him. And the fact that she doesn't tell anybody where she's born and where she comes from, that's exactly why he thinks he's right. Look, she's even hiding where she comes from, one of us. And because of that, he's not afraid of her. If he would have known to be afraid of her, then he would stay far, far away. That's why when Achashverosh gets mad at Haman, he leaves. And Haman starts begging on the feet of Esther, please save me. Why is he doing that? He thinks she's from his life. Come on, save me. We're the same. And then Achashverosh comes to the room and says, you want to take my wife also when I'm in the house? Are you crazy? He kills Haman. But Haman didn't know to be afraid from her because he perceived her as one of them. But from here, there's also a certain musar. I'll tell you musar. You know the word tochacha? It says, tochach tochiach et amitecha. You should surely rebuke your friend. If you see someone do something wrong, and they're going to listen to you when you speak to them, you have to correct them. It's your obligation to correct them. I see somebody stealing. Hey, don't you know it's Avirah to steal? You see somebody speaking Lashon Hara about somebody else. Hey, don't speak Lashon Hara now. What do you speak about somebody? What's the first reaction that people do when you criticize them?
Defensive.
They get defensive. It doesn't help. They don't want to listen to you. The best way to give tochacha is to include yourself in the category. Hey, we're not supposed to speak Lashon Hara. We? Who's we? You. Okay, fine, I won't speak Lashon Hara. You are not supposed to. Who are you to tell me what to do? You're speaking to a Kehillat. You're a rabbi of a Kehillat. We have to fix something here. What to fix? I have to fix something. No, but I'm part of you. We have to fix together. What am I going to do? You include yourself in the category of those people who you're rebuking, and it helps. That everyone that you're going to thinks, oh, he's one of us. Don't worry. He's okay. I was at a wedding recently. And I went to the kitchen to go say thank you to the person who was making the food. So I go to the kitchen. And the person got very scared. Oh, the rabbi's coming to the kitchen. Must be he's going to make problems for me. I don't think like that, but that's what they were thinking. Probably the rabbis they met are those kind of rabbis. It happened to be Min Shmaya that one of the people who was working in the kitchen met me the night before. Don't worry, he just looks scared, but he's one of us. He's okay. Oh, they come down, they brought me food, they brought me chocolate, but they started emptying out the kitchen over there. When you hear this, he's one of us, don't worry. It makes you feel very different. Esther is teaching us that lesson. Let's look at Pasuk 21. בימים ההם ומרדכי יושב בשער המלך. In those days Mordechai is sitting in the gates of the king. קצף בגתן ותרש. שני סריסי המלך משומרי הסף. Two of the advisors of the king, how do you translate them? ויבקשו לשלוח יד במלך אחשוורוש. They made a plan to kill אחשוורוש. This word katsaf. It's like he jumped up. They did something crazy. We find this word somewhere else. We find Paro, katsaf. He gets angry at his servants. See, whenever you find this word in Tanakh, you're going to know that katsaf, a tzaddik, is going to get his way soon. Paro gets mad at his servants, that's the Jewish people. Yosef a tzaddik gets rewarded after that situation. That's when, remember, Paro gets mad at his advisors, so they had word for them, fancy words, and his ministers. And immediately Yosef replaces them. Same here, Katzaf, HaKadosh Baruch Hu he sees that Paro is getting mad, Achashverosh is getting mad, he replaces him with Mordechai. Mordechai becomes a leader.
Are there any reasons given for why they wanted to kill Achashverosh?
That's a great question. Yeah, let's read together. It seems that they were servants of Achashverosh. It seems like it's a very petty reason too from what the Gemara says. Bigtan v'teresh Tulsiim hayu. They were Tulsiim, and they would speak in the language of Tulsi. Amar echad hashani. They were speaking to each other in a language that nobody knew. Miyom sheba Esther lebet hamelech. From this day that Esther the queen came to the house of the king, lo einu shena beinenu. We haven't been able to go to sleep. Why? Come to explain that Achashverosh really liked Esther, so he wouldn't go to sleep. He would stay up the whole night talking to her, and he liked to drink. Achashverosh had a drinking problem, so every 2 minutes, give me a drink. They didn't sleep. These guys were working full time. They were upset already. They wanted to be done with this Achashverosh guy who's making them stay up all night. They were upset that they would have to make so much drinks for Achashverosh. Let's poison his cup. He's going to drink. He'll die. Leave us alone. Amar lo hashani. The second one tells him, "Halo ein mishmarti moshetcha shavot." We don't work the same shift. Amar lo ani yishmor mishmarti u'mishmartecha. I'll do both of your shifts. Don't worry. Well, that way we'll make sure we're there when the poison comes around. V'lo hayu yodim shemordechai chaver haSanhedrin haya. They did not know that Mordechai, who was there, was a member of the Sanhedrin. שהיו יושבים בלשכת הגזית והיודע ב-70 לשון. Mordechai, because he was a member of the Sanhedrin, was familiar with 70 languages. He understood what they said. And how can you judge a person if you don't understand their language? A translator's not enough. Translator can translate the words for you, but not the ideas, not the expressions. How can you judge a person to death if you don't even understand what he's telling you? I'll give you an example. In the world we live in today, in the world we live in today, or back there, wherever you feel, here it is. In the world we live in, you're not allowed to talk about anything racial. People should understand that races exist. Races exist, Chavra. All the stereotypes about races are wrong. Stereotypes are not correct. Stereotypes come from somewhere, though. There's certain cultures that exist in the world in one place and another place. That's where you get certain things from. To judge a person by generic statements about people is incorrect. But there are people. Jews have certain personalities other people don't have. Not all Jews. Not every type of Jew. But don't pretend that you're like everybody else in the world. You meet a person who's a Russian. They can have a different culture than you. It doesn't make that one's right or one's wrong. It's different. In a world where we're trying very rapidly to erase any kind of racial divides, we also rid ourselves of the ability to help people who are different based on their cultures or their race. Who did I hear this from? an African American psychologist. She said, she made a famous video, I don't remember what her name is. She said that a certain lingo that is used in certain communities means something in one place that doesn't mean something somewhere else. She said, for example, she said if a person has a patient and they're black, African American, and they come and they say, now obviously, are all African Americans the same? No. She's giving an example of what happens when you don't think out of your racial box. Then they say, I'm so sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Mm-hmm.
So what does the psychologist say? Oh, you need sleeping pills. Because you need to go to sleep. But you're so sick and tired of being sick and tired, so go get to bed, sleep. Says where somebody who understands that person's culture will say, they're telling you they're about to commit suicide. I'm so sick and tired of being sick and tired means I can't even handle one more minute of my life anymore. And you not willing to educate people that in different communities there are different ways to express things is exactly what's going to kill people. You may not be comfortable thinking about this in the Western democracy that you live in today, but you'll be hiding from a fact if you don't understand this. There's certain cultures where time is not the same as our time.
Mm-hmm.
You tell somebody, I'll meet you at 8 o'clock, and you show up at 8 o'clock, but they only come at 10. Because they expected that you know that when they said 8, they meant 10. But you don't know that. My wife's family, for example. What day is today? Tuesday. If they were going to fly tomorrow, they'll say, I'm flying to New York on Erev Shabbos. Which to me means I'm flying to New York on Friday. My wife's family, any day that happens after Saturday is Erev Shabbos.
Whoa.
My wife once told me a story where her family flew into Israel on Erev Yom Kippur. I'm like, wow, how'd you guys manage to buy food and teach you listening like I fell off the moon? I said, so wow, we had a few days. How did you land on Erev Yom Kippur and have a few days to buy food?
A few days.
Until I realized Erev this doesn't mean in their lingo. Now, is it a truth? I don't know if it's true or false. Erev means the day off. So it can't be that Wednesday is Erev Shabbat. But for them, there's it's a long Erev Shabbat. And unless you're familiar with and I've seen that people get confused over these things. Somebody will say to me, please define your terms first. What do you mean when you say that? Some people are very sarcastic in their nature. The way they speak is very sarcastic. Some people get very offended. They're very straight. They don't understand sarcasm. There are people, for example, don't have any sense of humor. You say something funny and they don't know what to do with what you just said. You have to know who you're talking to. My grandfather, I love Shalom, my father's father. Yemenites have a certain sarcastic personality to them. And a lot of teasing and Yiddish, they call it kibbutzing. They're poking fun at people and things. They're part of their family experience. You would sit at this table, and it's like you were fair game. If you sit at this table, you're fair game to get picked on. But some of the cousins that married into the family, they couldn't handle this. It's like, why are you picking on me in front of everybody? It's like, he's not picking on you. It's a sign of affection. But it's a different culture, and it would be very correct to know that there are certain people that don't know how to handle very well the fact that you're picking on them. If you remember when there was a president of the United States, went to Iraq, and he was there speaking, and someone threw a shoe at him.
Right.
And
That's the worst insult.
and in the Middle East, like the worst thing you can do is don't kill them. Throw a shoe at them. It's worse than killing them. It's the disrespect you get from getting a shoe in the Middle East is you leave shoes outside of the house. You don't bring them inside the house. Shoes, you never sit with your shoe pointing towards somebody. That's why the way Americans will sit like this and somebody in the Middle East is very rude. How do you have your shoe facing towards somebody? So they threw a shoe at him. That's like the greatest humiliation of an American president in Middle Eastern history.
Right.
The Americans didn't really understand what's going on. Like, they didn't kill him, they didn't shoot him, what's going on over here? Why just the shoe? It's a totally different culture that you're not aware of where you are. Am Yisrael, we have this fault also. Am Yisrael, for 70 years, we're trying to operate a country in the Middle East as if we're some European colony. Half of the problems we have in the Middle East, you don't have to, I'm a rabbi, you don't have to agree with my politics. Half the problem we have in the Middle East is that we don't believe that we're Middle Easterners. Look at an average Jew on the street. Until my mother would get very offended from telling you now. They're Arab Muslims, right? They're Arab Christians too.
Right.
There are Baha'i Arabs also.
Right.
What about the Jewish Arabs? There used to be Jewish Arabs before somebody erased us out of history. We're not European. They're Jewish Arabs. We speak Arabic, we eat Arabic food, we wear Arabic clothing, we know how to fight with our Arab neighbors, we know how to make peace with our Arab neighbors. All of a sudden, a certain Jewish element, that's not a religious group, decided they're no more Arab. Every kind of Arab in the world is Arab Jews. Because the state of Israel has to be an Eastern colony. we have to be socialists, or we have to be a democracy, or whatever it is we have to be, and we're like sticking out of the Middle East like a sore thumb. Can you imagine that we have a country where the prime minister is the only prime minister in the whole region who doesn't speak the language of the region he's in? Maybe a little bit from the army. Not a born Arab speaker. We still haven't had a prime minister who is an Arab Jew, who knows the culture because that's how he grew up. So how are you going to negotiate a peace treaty with 13 Arab nations without knowing their culture or their language or how they speak or how they think? That's how you go to the White House in America to negotiate a peace treaty. Or you sit in Geneva to negotiate a peace treaty. It's a language the Arabs don't understand. It's a very strange world that we live in.
Very good
Everything
points.
upside down.
Very good points. Explains a lot of what's going on now.
It would. One day, when there's not a camera, we can speak about Israeli politics. American politics, I don't care about. But Israeli politics, that's my politics. So Mordechai, in order to judge people, in order to be a member of the Sanhedrin, you have to be intimately familiar with the cultures of other people, with the languages of other people. More than that, the Rambam writes in the laws of the Sanhedrin that in order to sit in the Sanhedrin, you have to be familiar with idol worship. How are you going to judge someone to death for worshiping an idol if you don't understand how you worship an idol? I'll give you an example of this. Rav Kook, he used to wear a cross every day. You don't know this. Rav Kook wore a cross. He was given a cross by the British government. What's he going to do, not wear it?
Yeah.
Now, their cross is not like your cross. Their cross is a plus sign, but for them, that's a religious symbol.
It's religious?
Yeah, British.
It's like
has a
Order
different-
of the Cross. It's like a
Right.
knight. He was knighted or something.
He was knighted. He was by the Queen of England or whatever situation he was in, and he didn't know like should he wear it, should he not wear it. So Rav Kook was familiar with the halakha. By this cross that they gave him, if I were to go down to the jewelry store and buy myself a cross and wear that cross, am I wearing avodah zarah?
Yes.
Wait.
No! No!
How's it not?
Why?
Sorry, Moshe. No. Why not?
'Cause
If I'm going to take my necklace cross to my local Christian neighbor and say, hey, you want to bow down to this cross? He doesn't worship the cross. The cross for him is a religious symbol of avodah zarah. But the cross itself is not the same as the big cross they have on the front wall of the church. It's a little piece of jewelry.
I thought they do stuff. It's like
But Catholic. Christian
Yeah.
don't, but Catholic they do.
I
Like
didn't-
kiss,
I told you,
kiss
Moshe, I already told you sorry before I
Pope's
started, right? To get you out of my hair.
Okay, Rav.
What about
Rav Kook understood that in the culture of the cross which he was given, it's a religious symbol, but it's not an avodah zarah cross, and therefore he could wear it. He's not the only chief rabbi that wore a cross.
Really?
Yeah, and though Rav Kook he wanted to be a little strict, he always tucked in the corner of the cross into his it was
it was like a T instead?
So it was like it looked like this,
Yeah, T.
like that. Yeah, it was always part of it was tucked in. But he wore a cross. How would you know to make that decision if you were not familiar with who worships this cross, who doesn't worship? Is the cross a religious object? Is it a religious symbol? What's the difference between those things?
Like Rabbi Nasas's discussions on Christianity.
About the church. Remember that we studied that here. We had a 6-part class on that one.
But what about the case of, I'll do this on camera, I guess, but the worship of Baal Peor,
Okay?
where they uncover themselves and relieve themselves in front of this idol, and said that there was a rabbi who went in front of that idol and then he wiped his rear quarters on the idol, and the Avodah Zarah worshippers said that was the best worship they ever saw, when he was just trying to desecrate the idol. So, how do we look at that? How do we see that?
Mentally ill.
That's a great question. They have to look into the Gemara there. If I'm not mistaken, that Gemara is in Masechet Megillah, the one I quoted, which shows that there's a tradition of rabbis mocking idols, and that I believe is one of the examples of that. That was like an unintended consequence, the compliment afterwards. I don't know that you begin to understand the aversion that Chachmei Israel have towards idol worship. It's not just we worship Hashem and they worship idols. We cannot stand that there are still people in this world who worship idols. It's like an allergy to avodah zarah. It's when you see the Rambam hating on certain Jewish customs because they're too reminiscent of idol worship. Who cares? It's not idol worship. So because how could you even do things that are like idol worship? How could you not hate idol worship so much that you stay away even from that? Today, like you live in a Jewish community, half the things they do are idol worship, so nothing you can do about it. But this is it used to be a Jewish value to stay away from idol worship. Mordechai understood, and he heard this story, and he understood what happened, and that's why he told. And that's why he told Achashverosh.
I have another question, but it will require the camera being turned off.
The Akushim, when he asks one more question, the Akushim says, "Why did Mordechai have to tell Achashverosh that they were planning to kill him? Why did he care about Achashverosh's life?
Because he's the king.
So what? He was the king that didn't let us go back and build the Beit HaMikdash. The king Achashverosh ruled against them. Let him die. Who cares? You know the reason? The Akushim, when he says that nobody should say about us that when Achashverosh was married to a non-Jewish lady, we didn't care about him. But now that he was married to a Jewish lady, what I'm saying? And so long as he was married to a non-Jewish lady, we protected him. But now that he married a Jewish lady, we're going to kill him for that. We didn't want to make a Chilul Hashem. Because of that, Mordechai saved her life. There's a few places in the Tanakh you find stories like that, where we do things that are entirely unreasonable, just to not make a Chilul Hashem. This was one of them.
Wow.